शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। Om. Dear friends, welcome to the study of the Yoga Sutras. We are in this Vibhuti Pada. Vibhuti, that is all these attainments, various supernatural or supernormal attainments. And we were in the Sutra number 17. I just read the Sutra, where to just see what it is. Earlier also we saw some of these attainments. These attainments, they start from right from 14th or 15th Sutra. Earlier also we saw that is one thing relating to 16th Sutra talked about Atita Anagata Jnanam, Parinamatraya Sanyamad, Atita Anagata Jnanam. That Sutra we read, Parinamatraya. So he talked about, in the earlier Sutra, he talked about three types of Parinamas. So those Dharma Parinama and some other Parinama, what are they? Lakshana Parinama and Dharma Lakshana Parinama and some other Parinama. So all these things, Dharma, Ashanta, yeah. Anyway, so those three parinamas, on those three parinama is changes which are happening. So on those things, once we do this sanyama, then atita anagata jnana, that is jnanam, knowledge of the past and the present, past and the future. Anagata is future, atita is past. So which means you are already having the knowledge of the present. Then again, the next sutra we just read, that is 17th sutra, that is Shabdartha. I'll just show the text now. Yes, this sutra we were reading. Shabdartha pratyayanam itaretaraadhyasat sankaraha tat pravibhaga sanyamat sarva bhuta ruta jnanam. Shabda artha pratyaya. So you take any word, you take any object rather. If you take any object, an object is denoted by a particular sound. And that sound, we call it a particular word. We call it a word. And if there is a series of words, if a sequence of words, they make a sentence. So we know all that. So suppose I take this object called pen. This is an object. I use a sound called pen. And in that pen, of course, we are now talking in English. But then in say Sanskrit, if you say lekhani, suppose something I say lekhani. So le is one letter. Ki is another letter. Ni is another letter. Lekhini, all the three letters put together, they form a word. In a particular sequence, the words have to be there, letters have to be there. And if the sequence is changed, it may form a different letter, different word, or it may not form any word at all. So this a particular group of words in a particular sequence, they make a particular word. And that particular word gives or denotes a particular object. So the moment I say pen, immediately the image of pen is there in our mind. The knowledge of pen is there in our mind. The knowledge and the image, all the three things, they look as though they are one. So that is what this sutra says. And once we try to focus on or meditate on or do samyama, samyama, the word we saw earlier also, samyama. What is that samyama? And dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These are the three final steps of Ashtanga Yoga. The first five relate to mostly the physical aspect. That is yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. These five relate basically to the body. And body, of course, the mind also, because yama, niyama, there is also a lot of restraint of the mind. But in spite of it, it is something to do with the restraint and controlling and then preparatory steps. But later, after all those preparatory steps are done, then what happens? Then you have to focus on a thing. And I mean, the first thing we have to do is to practice to practice focusing. That is dharana. Practice focusing on that, and you just don't deviate from that. And once you practice focus or concentration, then you start contemplation, that is meditation, what we call dhyana. That is, dhyana is tulya pratyaya santati. That is a stream of similar thoughts. So that is also we saw. Then again, samadhi. And when you are doing that sort of meditation, you get absorbed in that. So that is the third stage. And all the three, they are so inseparable. They are so inseparable, though we are making some sort of division between dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. They are almost inseparable. So these three put together, rightly he has called it trayam ekatra sanyamaha. So all the three taken together, they are called sanyama. Sanyama is the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi put together. So now we are doing sanyama, or that attention, focus, absorption on the separated state of Shabda, Artha, and Jnana. Shabda is sound, Artha is the object, Jnana is the knowledge. Shabda is the sound. Shabda, we know that word Shabda. Shabda is the sound. And Artha is the Artha. Of course, there is another meaning also. Artha means meaning. Artha here means object. And again, Jnana. Jnana is knowledge. All the three, they look one. But the yogi, he focuses on the separated state of these things. And once by doing that sanyama on this separated state of these things, gradually he will be able to understand the sounds of all beings. Of course, human beings, we know by convention, we know that by convention, we have got words. Every object is denoted conventionally by a particular word. And similarly, all the whole language is formed like that. And some other society, it has a different language. Some other society, it has a different language. Thousands and thousands of languages are there in the world. So again, all these languages are by convention only. But here, we are doing that sanyama on the separated stage of these three. And by doing so, you will be able to know, the yogi will be able to know. I don't assure you, or you will be able to know, because I also do not know. The text says the yogi will be able to know the knowledge of, the communication of all the beings. So that is what it means. Shabda, Artha, Pratyayanam. Shabda is sound, Artha is the object, Pratyaya is the knowledge. Itaretara Pratyayanam of these three. Itaretara Adhyasa. Itaretara Adhyasa means superimposing one on the other. Adhyasa is one word which we get in the Vedanta. Adhyasa is the word which was used by Shankaracharya in the Adhyasa Bhashyam of the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutra, the introductory Bhashyam is called the Adhyasa Bhashyam. Adhi plus asa. Adhi means above. Asa means to be. Adhyasa, to keep something over the other. I see something and I impose something on that thing. I superimpose some other knowledge on that. So that is Adhyasa. I see that the famous example, most famous example is that Rajju Sarpa. You see a rope and you think it is a Sarpa. And the Sarpa is something which is Sarpa is the serpent. Serpent is something which is superimposed on that Rajju or rope. So that is Adhyasa. So here also we are doing superimposition. I am using a word and that word is superimposed on this object. And this object, the knowledge is again knowledge, object, and the word. They are superimposed on one another. So itaretara adhyasat sankaraha. Sankara usually means mixture. Sankara is something which is mixture, not pure. In fact, Sankara, Jayate Varma Sankaraha says, what is this? Arjuna in Gita. So there the meaning of Sankara is different. Sankara is some sort of mixture and then something which is undesirable, something like that. But here it is not like that. It is a totally neutral word. There is no negative connotation to this. Sankara is, there is a single appearance. There is a single appearance, one single appearance of these three. Tat pravibhaga sanyamat. Tat pravibhaga sanyamat means, pravibhaga means division. Pravibhaga sanyamaha means pravibhage sanyamaha. That is, you are doing sanyama on the separated state. Pravibhage, vibhaga, bhaja, to separate, vibhaga. Pravibhage sanyamat. That is, by doing sanyama on that pravibhaga, then what are we going to get? Sarva bhuta ruta. Sarva, all bhuta beings, ruta. Ruta is sound. Ruta, that ru, Sanskrit ru, other ru is different. Satyam vadishyami, ritam vadishyami is different. This is ru, ra plus u. Then sarva bhuta ruta jnanam. So this is what it is. Of the word, object, and knowledge, itaretara adhyasa, by superimposition of one on the other, mixture, the idea of oneness of the three, tat pravibhaga sanyamat, then the knowledge of all the beings. So this is probably we do not know. Maybe we can practice also. We don't know whether we'll be able. Suppose all around in Indian society, in Indian villages or even in towns, we get even the street dogs. Dogs keep on barking. The only animals we see usually are the dogs, or maybe sometimes the birds. If you have got some small park or something like that, you listen to the sounds of the birds. And the dove birds also, suppose some bird makes some noise somewhere, and another bird from a distance it responds, maybe by doing some by total absorption or total focus, total sanyama on those things. Maybe we'll be able to communicate the mood. Maybe we know the mood. Maybe we'll be able to know their language, because we see all these things in our stories also. All these Kathasarit Sagaram, and if you see stories like that, in all these stories, you see somebody is having the knowledge of the birds speaking and things like that. So here also, by doing Sanyama on their separated state, one attains the knowledge of communication of all beings. Under this sutra, there is a lot of bhashyam written by Vyasa. That is because our people, they did a lot of study on what is called the philosophy of language. So particularly Vakyapadiyam, we know that there is a great book called Vakyapadiyam by Bhartrhari. Bhartrhari not only wrote the Subhashita Trishati, Bhartrhari is said to have written some other books also. And the most famous book on which a lot of research is done nowadays, particularly in the West, not so much in India. Particularly in the West, a lot of research is being done on what is that? I just now said that book. That is on that book.
It is Vakyapadiyam, you said.
Yeah, Vakyapadiyam. That is the philosophy of language. So that Vakya and Pada, and then now in this Bhashyam, Vyasa goes on telling a lot about that, say that philosophy, which is there in that, what is called Spotavada. So Spotavada, suppose I just say a particular word. That particular word does not mean anything. That word leaves some sort of expectation in our mind. That expectation is called akanksha. Akanksha is desire. Akanksha is some sort of expectation. And suppose the pen is on the table, when I use all those letters, then akanksha, yogyata and sannidhi. Yogyata is what I am saying should be appropriate also. The pen is on the table. Yeah, it is there. That makes some sense. And sannidhi is these words which I am using. They should also be simultaneously or quickly used. Not one word now and half an hour later another word, and 1 hour later another word. The pen I use, say, and then keep quiet for an hour, and then is 1 more hour. So if I say like that, then it doesn't convey any meaning. So akanksha, yogyata, sannidhi. If we see the Mimamsa, the basic books on Mimamsa, there is a lot of discussion on this thing. Mimamsa texts also they do have, and even in Vakyapadiyam, initial say that the passages of Vakyapadiyam also, you see, or any introduction, good introduction to Vakyapadiyam also, you find such discussion. So this such discussion is there in this Vyasa Bhashya also, which is not directly relevant to what Patanjali is saying. What Patanjali is saying is, by focusing on this, you are going to get the knowledge of, or rather the communication, knowledge of, or rather the communication of all the beings. So here, of course, Vyasa goes into some detail about the points which are told in Vakyapadiyam and also in this Mimamsa Sutras. So let me read 1 or 2 lines. Tatra vak varneshveva arthavati. Vak varneshveva. Vak, I use that word, some speech, some word. That word, varneshu eva arthavati. So the basic, the instrument of speech, it merely utters vak. Yeah, the vak is the faculty called speaking. So that instrument of speech, it merely utters letters. Varneshu eva arthavati. The whole purpose is only with that. I just utter my vocal cords, just utter some sound and they're finished. Then the sense of hearing, again, there is a coordination between what I say and then what somebody else listens. The sense of hearing, it merely cognizes sounds. Then a word, on the other hand, is a unified cognition of all the sounds, of all the letters rather. So varneshveva arthavati, shrotrancha, here there is a print mistake, it should be dhvani. in that text from that KYM Yoga Vaisharadi, there is a type mistake. I could not correct because that Sanskrit, it is not yet properly restored. So once it is properly restored, maybe I'll be able to, yeah, I will also note it here. I'll be able to correct it later. Yeah, Dhvani Parinama Matra Vishayam. Shrotrancha Dhvani Parinama Matra Vishayam. The sense of hearing is something it best just cognizes sounds. And again, Padam Punaha Nada Anusamhara Buddhi Nirgrahyam. Nada Anusamhara Buddhi Nirgrahyam. Anusamhara. I use certain words, for example, Lekhini. That Lekhini, unless I use all the three words simultaneously, that is immediately. Simultaneously means I can't use all the three words, three letters simultaneously. Immediately of Lekhini, all the three words, all the three letters. Then only, because of the convention, my mind will be able to know that meaning. Padam Punaha, Nada Anusamhara. Nada Anusamhara. Nada is a sound. Anusamhara means following that. Anusamhara Buddhi. Anusamhara Buddhi means taking all those letters as one picture. Buddhi Nirgrahyam. Buddhi Nirgrahyam is dependent on the cognition of all the three letters. So a word is a unified cognition of all the three sounds. Then Varnaha Ekasamaya Asambhavitvat. Ekasamaya Asambhavitvat. They are not, all the letters, they are not uttered in one go. In one go means all the three, in a sequence only they are uttered. All the letters cannot be uttered in one go. All letters Ekasamaya Asambhavitvat Paraspara Niranugrahatmanaha. So these letters, they do not support one another. Only when they are in a sequence, when they are uttered in a sequence, then only they make some sense. Te padam asamsprushya anupasthapya avirbhutaha tirobhutascha. Avirbhutaha tirobhutaha means they arise and vanish without completely conveying the complete word. So individually these letters, they do not convey any meaning. Only when they are in a particular sequence, they convey a particular meaning. So it goes on like that. That discussion on what Vakyapadiyam says, that the discussion goes on. It is not very, very relevant to the present, what Patanjali is saying. So here also there is one point which one line which I picked up. Tasya sanketa buddhitaha pravibhagaha etavatam evam jatiyako anusamharaha ekasya arthasya vachakaha iti. So the meaning of all this is, the mind distinguishes one word from another by the knowledge of convention. Sanketa buddhitaha. Sanketa means some sort of symbol. So you are giving a particular sound. That sound symbolizes a particular word. Sanketa. We also use the word sanketa to refer to symbolism also. So this one word, tasya sanketa buddhitaha pravibhagaha etavatam evam jatiyakaha anusamharaha. So this mind distinguishes one word from another by the knowledge of convention, that a particular sequence of letters make a particular word and give such and such meaning. Ekasya arthasya vachakaha iti. So sanketa is something. Sanketastu pada padarthayoho itaretharadhyasa rupaha. Itaretharadhyasa rupaha. Pada padarthayoho. Word and the artha. And the itaretharadhyasa, one superimposed on the other. And then smrutyatmakaha. That is, it is something which is recalled to memory because of the convention. There is a convention that a word called pen denotes a particular object. I remember that convention. So then the mind recalls it. Smrutyatmakaha yoyam shabdaha soyam arthaha. So if this is the letter, if this is the sound, this is the artha, this is the object. Yoyam arthaha soyam shabdaha. So if this is the object, this is the sound. Iti. Evam itaretharadhyasa rupaha sanketo bhavati iti. Sanketa is a denotation. We can simply say a denotation. A symbol which is given to a particular object. So convention is of the nature of mutual superimposition of sound, word and object. And it is of the nature of memory, that this word means this object, or this word, this object is denoted by this word. So that is what it says. योयम शब्दः सोयम अर्थः, योयम अर्थः सोयम शब्दः. So this word means this object, or this object is denoted by this word. So then all this discussion is not relevant. In the end, he says one thing: evam shabdah, evam pratyayah, na itaretara sahagatah ityanyatha shabdah. Sorry, evam. Thus, it becomes very clear: shabdah, evam pratyayah, that a word is different, the object is different. Evam shabdah, evam pratyayah, na itaretara sahagatah. So the sound is different, the object is different, and the knowledge is different. By doing sanyama on the distinctness of these three, we are now doing focus. Sanyama is once there is a superimposition, it makes a sense. Suppose we don't do superimposition. Without doing superimposition, we concentrate or we meditate on the separated state of each things, separated state of each of these three. Distinctness of these three, a yogi would attain the knowledge of the sounds of all beings. Sarva bhuta ruta jnanam sampadyate. Sampadyate means he attains iti. He attains the knowledge of the sounds of all beings. So this is something which has to be practiced only. But something, it looks rather sensible. It is not absolutely it doesn't look totally whimsical or anything. It looks slightly sensible, because if you keep on focusing on that, maybe you will be able to understand the sounds of animals. So one has to be closely associated with the animals. We have no such experience. We never go to the forest, or we are never in the company of animals, except the pet dogs or cats. So the human experience of sounds denoting certain emotions is applied to all the beings, such as birds and animals. And human societies have developed certain conventional meaning for certain specific sounds. Perhaps this is true for all the living beings. It should be so. It has to be so. Otherwise, how will the animals communicate with one another? So it has to be like that only. Like we are having some sound, some sort of superimposition of sound, object, and meaning and knowledge. So similarly, all the living beings also would be having some type of communication. Some type of communication, we do not know. It may be by sounds, or it may be by some other smell. Maybe we also read about animals emitting a particular smell and communicating, or maybe some other signaling system. We do not know the signaling system. So this is true of all, perhaps this is true of all the beings, because they too communicate. They do communicate anyway. Maybe they are loners, like serpents. The snakes are said to be total loners. We do not know whether they communicate at all or not. But even then, the snakes also may not be loners, because some people, the vets, what are these? Vets means the veterinary scientists, they do say that snakes are loners. But then we also do find snakes in groups also. We don't know. So by carefully contemplating on the sounds, on the objects and on the context, we should also know the context. Suppose some crow is dead. If we see the crow is dead, and all other crows, they make a wailing sort of that crowing. Or similarly, any other animal, if a dog is dead, the dog howls in a particular way. So like that. On the objects and on the context, one would attain knowledge of communication of all these animals. Then this is again slightly it makes good sense. Samskara sakshatkaranat purvajati jnanam. Samskara sakshatkaranat. Samskaranam sakshatkaranat. That is by realizing the samskaras. By realizing the samskaras. How do we realize the samskaras? Samskara, we know that it is a sort of latent impression. Because of our human interactions in hundreds and hundreds of ways, right from my childhood, we have had interactions with thousands and thousands of people and thousands of impressions. There are certain samskaras, a particular predisposition, some latent impressions which actually predispose me to go ahead in a particular way. So these are all samskaras. So these samskaras, I suppose I go back and back and back and then try to recall one after the other, something like taking out all the old files. Suppose I take out all the old files, then I go back and seriously, if I go back into all my samskaras and all the previous experiences, then naturally I will be able to recall which in the normal course I would forget. In the normal course I would forget. But if I concentrate on this, I will be able to recall what happened in my childhood. Particularly old people who did not have exposure to so much of mass communication and so much of knowledge, banging, which is banging on our face. So we are exposed to so much of social media, so many things enter our mind that we forget also so many things, because when so many things come in, so many things are also forgotten. But if we see some elderly people who are totally not exposed to these, they do remember what happened some 60 years ago or 70 years ago or 80 years ago. So if we see our old, very old parents, and if we just speak to them, then they will tell about all old stories, and they remember in such graphic details. So maybe by concentrating on them, and then probably nowadays the psychologists, they are also doing what is called the past life regression. And probably even that past life regression, all those experiments, they are actually based on common sense only. They're based on common sense. And this particular sutra supports. So this sutra supports what all the psychologists are doing now. Samskara sakshat karanat. By realizing the samskaras, jnanam, the knowledge of purva jati. Jati does not mean class or category. Jati means janma. Purva jati jnanam. Instead of saying purva janma jnanam, it said jati. Jani pradurbhave jani dhatu. So then these experiments on the past life regression are on the same lines, because they also encourage a person to go back and back into memory and then try to recall what happened in our childhood. First of all, we have to go back into our own life. Then again, we have to go back into the prenatal stage where that womb, what all we felt. Then again, the earlier janma. And even the scientists, some experiments, the scientists, they say that there is something called Purva Janma. Of course, our philosophy says Purva Janma. All Indian schools of philosophy, except Charvakas, who say that only this life is there. Bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punar agamanam kutaha. That is what they say. But then, except these Charvakas, all of the people, they do accept this Punarjanma. Even Buddhists and Jains and all those people who do not accept the authority of the Vedas, they do accept Punarjanma. So this past life regression, it actually, the psychologists also nowadays, some of them, they do support that particular view. Then the others, Dvaye Khalvami, there is some commentary also. Dvaye Khalvami samskaraha smruti klesha hetavo vasana rupaha vipaka hetavo dharma rupaha. Smruti klesha hetavo vasana rupaha. There are two types of samskaras. Those which are of the nature of memory, smruti klesha hetavaha. That is the hetu. Hetu means the cause. The cause for smruti and also klesha. The moment I recall something, it gives me some klesha. Or klesha means it disturbs my thinking, disturbs my normal cool. So which cause the kleshas. The others are of the nature of good and bad, which lead to good and bad fruit. So the one samskara, dharma samskara is there. The dharma samskara is predisposing me to do certain things. Adharma samskara is predisposing me to do something else. So like that, these are two types of samskara. Then dvaye is two types. Dvaye, what is the meaning of this dvaye? I was struggling with that. Luckily, there is a meaning also for that. Dvaye, it seems some pratyaya has come. If you are interested in grammar, then I'll just read out that particular thing. Dvaye, yes. Dvaye, okay, not able to immediately get it. Yeah, there is a Panini Sutra called Dvitribhyam Tayasya Yajva. There is something. So there is a Dvi, on that Dvi Shabda, there is a Pratyaya called Ayach Pratyaya. So that Ayat Pratyaya, with that Ayach Pratyaya, Dvayam, it comes. Dvaye, that is two types of samskaras. That it is Bahuvachana Punglinga. It is said to be Bahuvachana Punglinga. So Dvaye, I also came across this word for the first time. Dvaye Khalvami Samskara. So these samskaras and the samskaras are of two types. Then those which are of the nature of memory and which give klesha, and others are of the nature of dharma and adharma. Okay. Te purva bhava abhisamskrutaha. Bhava means janma. Bhava is janma. Bhavanashana, we know the word bhavanashana. Bhavanashana means that which destroys the bhava, that is punarjanma. Purva bhava abhisamskrutaha, those which are influenced by the karma of the past lives. Then parinama cheshta nirodha shakti jivana dharmavad aparidrushtaha chitta dharma. In an earlier sutra, he was talking about certain chitta dharmas which are cognizable and certain chitta dharma which are incognizable. So now these samskaras, also we know also samskaras we know our daily experience. Samskaras is something which is unseen. They are in the subconscious, so that is why they are unseen. Those which are in the surface of the mind, we know them. Those which are which are in the subconscious, we do not know. So they come up, and then they prompt us to do a particular thing. So they are incognizable samskaras noted in Sutra 3-15 in the same pada, Vibhuti pada, we saw in the 15th Sutra. So sanyama on them, teshu samyama, samskara sakshat kriyayai samarthaha. Teshu sanyama means on those samskaras, sanyama, we have to do sanyama. Samskara sakshat kriyayai samarthaha. So that becomes capable of, or rather, some sanyama on them would lead to realization of samskaras. Samskaras of even past janmas. Then, one more, there is some limitation also. It is not possible without I'll first read this thing. Their realization is not possible without the experience in this present life in terms of place, time, and situation. So that is, the yogi can reflect on how he reacted to a situation in the present life and what were the samskaras. You see, if I want to know the previous samskaras, I have to see observe my own behavior. I have to observe my own behavior on a particular situation, how I reacted. And I reacted like this because of some other samskara. So some previous samskara. I was very angry with this particular man because of my samskara. So I have to concentrate on that. So I have an experience. And I do have a samskara, and I do realize that old samskara. So similarly, by focusing on such samskaras, we'll be able to go back and back. So that is what it means. You see, but then all these samskaras, previous samskaras, there is a limitation saying that desha kala nimittanubhavaihi vina. Of course, not limitation. All these desha kala nimittanubhavaihi na vina teshamasti sakshatkaranam. So there some sakshatkaranam, it also gives all the details of desha, kala, and nimitta. So at such and such a place, in such and such time, and in such and such context, this thing has happened. So with all those details, all those things come to my mind. So tadittam samskara sakshatkaranat purvajati jnana utpadyate yoginaha. So this particular explanation is my own thinking. That is, unless we have we examine our own say behavior, and from our own behavior we have to examine our samskaras. So why I behaved like this? So because of this samskara I behaved like this. And why this samskara? Again, going back into those samskaras. So by doing that, by doing sanyama, then I will be able to know the earlier details. So this sentence is also translated in a different way, saying that their knowledge is not without the time, place, or situation. It means that all those details are realized by the yogi. So here there are two types of translation, because for example, on this particular sutra, there are different translations. Not only on this sutra, even on the next sutra also, that pratyaya, for that word, the sutra, next sutra talks about pratyaya. So on that pratyaya also, on that word pratyaya also, there are different meanings which are given. Then, paratrapi evameva samskara sakshatkaranat parajati samvedanam. This is again, we don't know whether it is possible or not. Just as I concentrate, I observe my samskaras depending on my past behavior. Similarly, observing the behavior of a particular person, I will be able to know the samskaras of that other person also. So that is what the sutra says. Paratra. Paratra means in the context of another person also. Paratra. Not only with respect to me, but with respect to the other person also. Paratrapi evameva samskara sakshatkaranat. By doing this sakshatkara of those samskaras, parajati samvedanam, parajati. So what was his previous birth, etc. What was his previous birth, etc. I will be able to know. So that is what this says. We do not know whether whether we can do sanyama on the samskaras of the other person, because samskaras of the other person, they are in the subconscious. Samskaras naturally they are in the subconscious. So, but then the sutra says we will, sutra and also the bhashya says we will be able to know them also. Then, yeah, there is an akhyayika. There is a story. There is a story of one person called Jaigishavya. This story is not relevant here. Atredam akyanam suyate. In this context, there is a story which is told. Bhagavato Jaigishavyasya samskara sakshat karanat. There is some person called Ushas. Mahasargeshu Janma Parinama Kramam Anupashyatah Vivekajam Jnana Gnanam Pradurabhut. So for one person who did this samskara sakshatkarana, and after with that samskara sakshatkarana, Mahasargeshu, the Dashasu Mahasargeshu, in 10 great sargas. We know that there is sarga, then kalpa and whatnot. So in one kalpa, it is said that there are several sargas. So like that, in all those mahasargas, Janma Parinama, in some Kruta Yuga, how he was, and much prior to that in some other kalpa, how he was, and some other kalpa, how he was. So all those things, Anupashyata, Vivekajam Jnanam Pradurabhut. So then somebody came and then he had an interaction, discussion with him and whatnot. But all this is not at all relevant to this sutra. It does not say as to how it is done, but it only says that Jaigishavya had the knowledge of all these things. We can see the meaning even in the translation. We need not go into these things. Then this sutra is again differently interpreted by different people, different commentators. Pratyayasya parachitta jnanam. Pratyayasya sanyamena. Sanyama is common to all these things. Because sanyama, that focusing, dharana, dhyana, samadhi is common to all these things. So pratyayasya sanyamena, that is, or rather pratyaye sanyamena, that also we can, yeah, pratyayasya is in the sutra, so we have to use pratyayasya only. Pratyayasya sanyamena, that is by doing sanyama on the mind of another person, parachitta jnanam. So in some texts, it seems this sutra is not there. No, this sutra is there. Next sutra. That's, yeah, I'll tell that later. Pratyayasya parachitta jnanam. So then what is this pratyaya? Let us see. Pratyaye sanyamat, pratyayasya sakshatkaranat, tataha parachitta jnanam. Different meanings have been given to the word pratyaya as below. This Vachaspati Mishra, VM and Bhoja says, pratyaya means the mind. Pratyaya means the mind of another person. Pratyayasya parachitta matrasya says parachitta matrasya. That is, you are doing sanyama on the other person's mind. That means you are observing that man for a particular, for a long duration, for a considerable duration. Then only we will be able to concentrate or rather do sanyama on somebody's mind. If we don't know that man, we do not know whether we can really do that. Then another person, another commentator, Vijnana Bhikshu, takes it to mean a vritti of one's own mind. Pratyaya is my own understanding, my own mind. I am concentrating on my own mind and not on the mind of another person. So even among the commentators, there is some difference of opinion, which means that probably the commentators also had not personally realized. So if I have personally realized, then I will say, yes, by this way I have realized. Or we don't even know. We don't know that they might have realized in their own manner. For example, Vachaspati Mishra and Bhoja, by concentrating on the other man's mind, they might have known. And Vijnana Bhikshu, by concentrating on his own mind, he might have known. We can't attribute anything to them simply because we are not able to know. So Vijnana Bhikshu takes it to mean a vritti of one's own mind associated with raga, dvesha. I do sanyama on my own mind associated with so much of raga, dvesha, etc. So the same thing I extrapolate and I apply to the other person also, and then I will be able to know the other person's mind. Then, yeah, Hariharanandaranya, he says that the vritti can be of his own mind and that of the other. So he says both can be there. Vritti can be his own mind or that of the other. Then there is another, this sutra is not, this line is not there as a sutra in some texts, but here in Yoga Visharadi, in this Kevaiyam Yoga Visharadi, it is there as a sutra. And in my text also, that is Patanjali Yoga Bhashyam, I was telling about this particular book. In this book also, it is shown as a separate sutra, but in some texts it is not there. Nacha tat salambanam tasya avishayi bhutatvat. Nacha tat salambanam. Tat means that knowledge of another person's mind. That's nacha tat salambanam tasya avishayi bhutatvat. So here again, the commentators, they do differ. So here, the meaning of this sutra is that knowledge of another person's mind, na salambanam. It is not salambanam. It is not with a knowledge of the detail. Suppose, what does it mean? I have some experience, and for that experience, there is an alambana. Suppose I have some experience, some pleasant or unpleasant experience. For that experience, there is an alambana. Alambana means a particular person or an object with which I was happy or unhappy. So that is the alambana. So salambana means along with the alambana. Suppose I look at somebody and I see, okay, your face is, you're sad today, you're looking sad today. So when I say you are looking sad, even we at our own level, we are able to say that. But then I don't know why he is sad, for what reason. So, but then here, of course, it says that knowledge is not with the knowledge of detail. So this is fairly okay. But then some commentators have also said, no, we also get the details of that alambana, on what object he is, with respect to what object he is feeling happy or sad. So, but sutra says like this, nacha tat salambanam, that knowledge of another mind is not with the knowledge of details. Tasya avishayi bhutatvat, that particular object is not vishaya in my knowledge. Suppose the man had a quarrel with his wife or something like that, or something else has happened. So that is not a vishaya, that particular object is not a vishaya in my own mind. So that is why. Tasya vishayi bhutatvat, because it does not form the vishaya for the yogi's mind. So such knowledge of another person's mind is devoid of detail. Detail, I said detail means this alambana. In fact, alambana is also used in Alankara Shastra. We know that rasa nishpatti, vibhava, vyabhichari sanyoga, the rasa nishpatti, for that rasa nishpatti, that is the sutra. There is what is called alambana vibhava. There is another called uddipana vibhava. Alambana vibhava means the hero and the heroine coming together. With respect to heroine, the nayaka. The nayika is the alambanam. With respect to nayika, the nayaka is the alambanam. Uddipana vibhava. So they are in that ambience where that moon is there shining bright, and then the night ambience, and then Vasanta Rutu, etc. These are all the Uddipana vibhavas. So like that alambana is a word used in Alankara Shastra also. But alambana is any type of the base. Alambana actually is the base. That is basing on something I have an experience. So that particular alambana. So such knowledge of another's mind is devoid of detail because it does not form the object for the yogi's mind. One more line I'll read. Raktam pratyayam janati amushmin alambane raktamiti na janati. You can also put a comma here. Raktam pratyayam janati. So that is the yogi knows that the other's mind is filled with raga. Pratyayam. Pratyayam is that knowledge. Raktam. Raktam is anuraktam. Anuraga. Anuraga we know. Anuraga is affection. Anuraktam. Raga, raktakta, pratyaya, that's all. Raktam pratyayam janati. So he knows that the other person's mind is filled with raga or attachment or desire, but does not know on what subject, on what object he has that desire. Amushmin alambane. Amushmin means in this particular alambana, on this particular object, his mind is attached, raktam, attached, iti na janati. So that it makes sense also. Then parapratyayasya alambanam tad yogi chittena na alambani kutam. Parapratyaya tu yoga chittasya alambani bhutam iti. Parapratyayasya alambanam tad yogi chittena na alambani kutam. So the object which is in the focus of my friend's mind, my friend is thinking about something. I only know that he is sad or happy. So, but I don't know the object which is in his mind. It is not Vishaya. It is not object in my mind. So the object which is in focus in the other's mind is not known to the yogi's mind. The object in yogi's mind is merely the mind of the other. So we are only seeing whatever is apparent in the yogi's mind, but we do not know what is in his subconscious, what is his alambanam, etc. On what object his raga or dvesha is based. I do not know. I only know that either he is happy, either he is unhappy or sad, or angry. I only know that much. We don't know. I don't know on whom he is angry. That is the point. Then, yeah, this is something which I can't understand. Kaya rupa sanyamat tad grahya shakti stambhe chakshush prakasha asamprayoge antardhanam. Here I could have put one, not two separate words, only one samasa. Chakshush prakasha samprayoge. Kaya rupa sanyamat. Kaya means body. Rupa means the appearance. Sanyama, I have to focus. I have to do sanyama on the kaya rupa. Here I am talking, here the yogi is talking about his own kaya, his own sharira. By doing sanyama on my own form. I just don't know, but the commentators also, they have not helped in any great manner. Kaya rupa sanyamat. By doing sanyama, that is on the form of my own body, then that grahya shakti stambhe. Grahya Shakti means its knowability. My body is known to you. My body is seen by you. It can be seen by you. It can be cognized by you. So that means my body has a knowability with respect to the other person. The other person is able to know or see my body. Perceptibility is a better word. So this perceptibility, that is the Grahya Shakti. That Grahya Shakti Stambha. Stambhanam means freezing, totally stambhanam. We use the word, what are the common words in which this is used? Stambhanam, that is freezing. That is, in economics also in Telugu language we use that stambhanam, that is freezing of accounts, something like that. Or of course, the Duryodhana is said to be knowing Jalastambhanam, Jalasthambhana, that Jalam, he can just stay in the water just like he stays on the ground. So like that Shakti Stambhe, when that Shakti is suspended, so that Jala Shakti is suspended there with respect to Duryodhana. He goes and hides himself in that tank. So Jala Shakti Stambhe, Chakshush Prakasha Samprayoge. Chakshush Prakasha. Chakshu is eye, Prakasha is the light. So the light from the eye of another person, asamprayoga, there is no contact. Samprayoga is contact, asamprayoga is lack of contact. Chakshush prakasha asamprayoga, when the light of another person's eye is not able to know that. So that means by doing sanyama on my body, I am doing this, my Shakti is there. What is that Shakti? Grahya Shakti. That is ability to be cognized by the other person, ability to be perceived by the other person. So that Shakti, I am freezing, that I am suspending that Shakti. It is something which is, I don't know whether it is possible. That is, suppose I concentrate on my body, Kaya, Rupa, Sanyama, I try to visualize that Akasha, Dvayu, Vayu, Ragni, etc., etc. From all those things, this body is formed. All said and done, again it has to go back to Akasha. So suppose I do all this Laya, Pravilapa, Prakriya and whatnot. And by doing all these things, I realize that yes, this is Akasha only has formed, transformed like this. Suppose I do that sort of Sanyama, maybe, I do not know, I will be able to suspend that ability of the other person to know. That is suspend, whatever is Grahya Shakti is there in my body. And I look like thin air. I just look like thin air, and the other person is not able to see me. So, Chakshush Prakasha Asamprayoge, when the light of the other's eye does not contact Asamprayoge, then Antardhanam, naturally Antardhanam, that is disappearance. Disappearance happens. Antardhanam Bhavati. We have to borrow that word. Antardhanam Bhavati. This is something which we don't know. There is only one line commentary. Kayasya Rupe Sanyamat. Kayasya Rupe. Kayasya Sharirasya Rupe, on that form. Sanyamat. By doing Sanyama on that. Ya Grahya Shaktihi Tam Pratishtabhnati. Ya Grahya Shaktihi. Whatever Shakti is there, that perceptibility by the other person. Pratishtabhnati means I just Pratistambhana. Pratistambhana, we say in Telugu also, Pratistambhana means just freezing. Every activity is frozen, somewhat like lockdown. So Pratishtabhnati, so it is just suspended. Then Grahya Shakti Stambhesati, Chakshush Prakasha Asamprayoge, Grahya Shakti Stambhesati. When that perceptibility is something which is suspended, then the light from the other person's eye, it does not fall. That is whatever that Vishayavachana Chaitanyam, the eye has to go out to the object and then capture it, isn't it? So that Samprayoga, that contact does not take place. So then Antardhanam Utpadyate Yoginaha. So this yogi becomes, it just disappears, Antardhanam. Etena Shabdadyantardhanam Uktam Veditavyam. So here, he has talked about Antardhanam means with reference to the eye only. Antardhanam means he is not able to see, that's all, isn't it? Like I am able to suspend that perceptibility with respect to eye, I am able to suspend that perceptibility with respect to touch also. So the man will walk through me, but he will not feel me. Suppose you visualize a situation where I just become, invisible. If I become invisible also, then suppose somebody can dash me, somebody can smell me, somebody can listen to me. So all these things are there. Other faculties are there. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Only Rupa is suspended. Then Shabda is there, Rasa is there, Gandha is there. All these things are there. When I go near him, he may feel smell rather. Then again, he may listen to my word. So like that. So even those things, they are also implied by this. We say that Upalakshanam, in Shastra language, we say if one thing is told, it is a Upalakshanam for other things also. So that is how the commentator has said, once you are able to do this on the Rupa, you will be able to do this with reference to Shabda, Sparsha, Gandha and Rasa also. So he says, Yetena, by this, Shabdadi Antardhana Muktam Veditavyam, Shabdadina api Antardhanam. So not only your Rupa Antardhanam, Shabda Antardhanam, Sparsha Antardhanam, Rasa Antardhanam, everything. Even you make sound, that sound will not be heard. A person can walk through you and he will not feel you, like that. By extension of this, it may be understood that such suspension happens in the case of sound, taste, touch, and smell. So this sutra talks only about Rupa. In addition, there are other sensory perceptions also. I have just given the note. These also can be suspended, and they can be called Shabdantardhana, Rasantardhana, Sparshantardhana, and Gandhantardhana, Gandhantardhana. If we have a bad stomach, then probably people will not feel the smell. So that is what we can see. Gandhantardhana can be achieved in the same manner by doing Sanyama on them. So this is what this sutra says. Then another, one more sutra. Is it time? Yeah, this sutra we can take up later. Aparipakvam, there is something, there is some explanation on that. So this 22nd sutra we will take up later. Sopakramam, Nirupakramam Karma, Tas Sanyamad, Aparanta Jnanam, Arishtebhyova. So there is again, by concentrating on this karma which has commenced and yet to commence, then we do get knowledge of the time of death and any other bad portents, something which is going to happen in future. So all those things, some sort of omens can come to us, and some certain things we see, some supernormal things we see. So that is what we see in the next sutra. So we can stop with this 21st sutra. Shabdantardhana, Rasantardhana, Sparshantardhana, Gandhantardhana. We'll stop with here. Any questions, please?
Thank you, sir. I don't see any questions today also.
Yeah, as I said, these are things which are I don't know whether there might have been sadhus, there might have been siddha purushas who have experienced all these things. But for us now, in our present skeptical frame of mind, it is difficult for us to understand. So, but some of them look reasonable. Some of them, they stand to reason. Suppose going back and examining all our samskaras. So certain things, they do stand to reason. And some little bit of truth in the sense of past, present, and future also. That is also something which stands to reason. There are certain sutras which also stand to reason, even with our own experience. We have to go more intensely into them. That's all. If we go more intensely, probably we will be able to know something. So I think we will stop here.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar.
Hari Om Tat Sat.